What if you could learn all new skills by enjoying really pleasant imagery and feeling immersed in a blissful experience? I mean, who wouldn't want to learn like that? That is one of the types of shamanic journeys that I want to talk about today, an educational type of shamanic journey. So today I'm going to spend a couple of minutes about the four main types of shamanic journeys that I work with. And there's almost an infinite number because everybody has so many different experiences inside a shamanic journey. But I'm going to talk about the educational type of shamanic journey, a soul retrieval, self-awareness healing type of journey, a spiritual communion type of journey, and a manifestational type of shamanic journey. So stick with me for the next few minutes and I'll lay these out. So the educational type of shamanic journey is not one that I've heard very much about. However, I've discovered that you can learn amazing new skills in this other realm inside your own mind. So just to repeat a little bit, what is a shamanic journey? It's a guided set of imagery where you start in one place, usually a natural setting, and you are guided to walk down a path, take a boat ride, go fly on a back of a winged horse or something like that, and you arrive at a destination and then an experience unfolds there. And so I'm going to talk about the educational type of shamanic journey first. This is where you can learn skills that relate to your internal state and your internal experience. So imagine that, for example, I developed one of these journeys, actually a series of these journeys in collaboration with somebody who was an educational director at an addiction recovery center. And she allowed me to see the curriculum that she taught students to build their recovery skills. And one of the skills that people who are in recovery don't have very much of is how to set boundaries. So these folks are, and myself included, really have a lot of trouble with codependency and being respected, having our own sovereignty respected. So in the course of this particular shamanic journey that I developed, you travel to a place where you encounter somebody that you find to be a difficult person in your life, and you're guided to have a really productive conversation with them. And unlike who they are in the real world, you're experiencing them you're having an effective conversation by making requests about how you want to be treated and hearing those requests accepted, acknowledged, and agreed to by the other person. So you get that first experience of what it's like to have a conversation like this go successfully. I've been heard. I said my needs. I was heard. I was respected. And then the second part of the journey is encountering that person in exactly the same context, set and setting, under the circumstances where they used to screw up and make you feel terrible. In this occasion, they treat you exactly like they promised. They hear you. They show up and respect you in exactly the way you requested. So you get to have the full 180, 360 degree experience of setting boundaries, feeling like you know what your needs are, you know how to communicate your boundaries. And so with this entire internal experience, it's almost like an internal role play, imagination scenario, then you can go out in the real world and have a much better idea of how you would go about having one of these conversations with somebody in the real world. You might not want to tackle it with the most difficult person right away. However, you could practice with somebody who you have a pretty good idea they would listen to you. So that's an example of an educational journey where you have an experience inside that then can help you be more effective in the outside world. So the next one I want to talk about is the soul retrieval, self-awareness healing journey. So you've heard me talk about soul retrieval a little bit in other circumstances. Why would we need soul retrieval? It happens when we go through a trauma or difficulty in this lifetime or in a past life. Maybe we've got plenty of stuff to work with in this lifetime if you don't believe in past lives. and your energy gets it dissociates, it goes away, and from your present time self, that energy, that part of you is unavailable, which means that you don't have all of yourself right here, right now. And so in a soul retrieval type of journey, in one of these self-awareness and healing journeys, again, you start in a certain place, usually in a natural setting, which you may have been to before or could be part of your imagination. Again, journeys are about using the skill of our imagination in really specific and guided ways. And speaking of guided, this type of journey can be either guided, compared to the educational journey, which is highly guided and highly structured. This type of journey can be just set you on the tracks and then let your guides, your higher self, the spiritual experience unfold for you to go and meet a part of you that you need to in order to do the soul retrieval. So I'm going to go into that a little bit now. In a soul retrieval journey, you start in your natural setting, you travel to a place where you might meet a part of yourself. And this type of journey is really similar to psychological parts work or inner dialogue work, where you go and you discover a part of you. And maybe this part of you, let's say, for example, it's the part of you that knows how to speak to the opposite gender. And somewhere along the line, that part of you just wandered off, and every time you find yourself in front of somebody of the opposite gender, you just get tongue-tied and you don't really know how to communicate with that person. So who is the part of you? Some place inside you, because we're divine infinite beings, there is a part of you that knows how to have these conversations with peacefulness and calm and groundedness. And now you can go on a journey and ask your guides to take you to a place where you can find that part of you and have a dialogue with that part of you and ask, where did you go? Why did you wander off? Why did you feel unsafe about sticking around? And the stories can be so fascinating. That's why I say this kind of journey can be really good for self-awareness, because you discover, like, oh my God, I had, really difficult time with somebody of the opposite gender. And that's how I learned, or that's what made this part of me fly away. So then you have a negotiation with that part of you, and you hear from them, what would they like most from you, your present self, you're grown up, you're adult, you're empowered now. How can you support that part of you that felt like it needed to wander off? And that's how you find out what it needs and make a promise and make an agreement and a commitment to fulfill and support the needs of that part of you. And usually with that kind of contract, with that type of agreement, that part of you goes from, I don't want to come back, to, all right, maybe it's safe for me to come back. And there can be an integration process facilitated by the guides in the journey to help that part of you step back in and become whole with you and become present with you in your life. And so when you go back you come back out of the journey and you come back into your third dimensional world, once again, you're shifted inside. There's something different about you. You have something that you didn't have before. And now when you go in front of those, like for example, in this case, start talking again to somebody of the opposite gender, you might find that, wow, okay, I have a little bit more calm. I have a little bit more peace. With a little practice, I think I can get good at this. And so that is an example of a soul retrieval type of journey. And the next one I want to talk about is a spiritual communion journey. So for people that like to have different spiritual experiences and like that sense of bliss and expansiveness and connection with the other realms, connection with the quantum field, connection with divine beings, this is that type of journey. A journey always starts has a beginning and a middle and an end. And so you always start in your starting place. And then from there, once you set your intention to meet your guides, maybe have a dialogue with one of your guides or your animal allies, then that is what That's what unfolds as you go in this particular journey. And so you may, for example, want to meet your animal allies, and you can go and from your starting place, call in a starter guide, a guide for this particular journey. And I love to work with the higher self because we can trust that divine part of us. We know they're going to show up because they're us, right? So they show up and they can take us on the journey and show us where we want to go, to meet an animal ally, to meet one of our most powerful guides. And so I've also designed a structured journey around meeting your main guide, and from that main guide, having a conversation with all your guides. And I have another journey that's available where you can meet your animal allies and your spirit helpers, your spirit animal helpers in your life. And so depending on who the guides are, and they tell you how to communicate with them and how to open up those communication channels, then when you come back out of a journey like this, you feel enriched and you feel like you've had an amazing experience. And then you also feel like you are more aware of your guides and you're more connected to your guides, and you have some more tools and skills about how to communicate and work with your spirit guides. So that's an example of a spiritual communion. And the last one I want to talk about is a manifestational type of shamanic journey. This is where your intention, and intention is of primary importance for all of these journeys. You always want to know, why am I doing this journey? And I talk about that in another video. And in this intention, in this manifestational journey, of course, you really want to state your intention for what it is that you want to manifest in your life. What do you want more of? And when you go on this journey and you start from your starting place and you call the right guides in, and they take you to the place that will help you capture, whether it's new skills or whether it's blessings or whether it's resources or people or gifts, divinely given gifts, or even energetic adjustments to your vibration, so that then you can magnetize and manifest what you're asking for. So an example of this is I have a journey where I call it Meet the Star People, but it's for entrepreneurs, it's for people in business who want to meet more clients, or even people who want to make more friends. And you have a way in this journey of sending out a connection from your heart to all the different stars, all the different people who you make a heart connection with all the people you want to bring into your life. And then you kind of reel in those connections and find those people standing near you. And you have a communion with these people you're bringing into your life. And from that space, when you come out of that journey, you'll find that you are naturally motivated to go to events where you might meet people. And then there'll be like a small sense of familiarity around the people that you have called in through this spiritual experience. You'll be like, have we met before? Wow, there's something here for us. We were meant to meet, and let's find out what that is. Let's find out why we're here together. So those are the 4 types of shamanic journeys that I wanted to talk about today. And really, especially in the less guided and less structured journeys, you could go anywhere and do anything. These are realms of your imagination, realms of your internal consciousness, realms of your psychology that you're exploring. As an infinite being, you can go to infinite places and have infinite types of experiences. So I really appreciate you being with me here today. I really enjoyed spending this time sharing about one of my favorite topics. So thank you again for being here. It's wonderful to spend this time with you. Have a fantastic day.